So with what I did with anti-gravity in this environment, I just basically asked anti-gravity in the prompt, is there a better way to engage with Blender so I don't have to go into Blender and I can stay in one environment and make my updates? And it was like, yeah, why don't you do a bridge script? So it came up with a bridge listener script right here. And sorry. And basically what this script does, now I'm going to copy this and I'm going to go back into Blender and I'm going to just take all of this and I'm going to get rid of it. So I like to hit A, X, enter, and just start fresh. And I'm going to override this script with the bridge listener script. So you run this, it's not doing anything just yet, but it's saying anti-gravity bridge started here. I know the text is tiny, but it's saying there's a connection now. So I'm connecting this IDE environment into Blender. So the process for this was to kind of systematically create the spider bot. So I had to create code in little chunks and build it up and test it in each phase. Because if I did it all at once, it might break like the ChatGPT script did. So what I did was I started with, based on the tutorial, Polyforce tutorial, he starts that tutorial by making a single vertice. So this script creates one little vertice, and this script is called create single vert. So I have to be careful here, but what I would say is please run create single vert. So I have to be very careful because if you say the wrong thing with Gemini, it might just start building things and saving over things. And sometimes and do nothing else besides that. And that's what happened with this. I built this landscape and it basically overrode it with something else besides that. So I'm asking Gemini, please run create single vert pi. It's right here. It may say like, where is it? Okay, it's going to generate it. So let's do its thing. I hit accept. It's running it. Now, what it's doing is it's actually running it what's called the terminal, and it's running the Blender bridge script connection. It's putting it into another Python file and it's running it. And so it's saying I executed single vert and it should be there. So now if you look at invent Blender, there it is. That's all it did was it created one little vertice. That's all it did. This is the beginning of building the spider bot. So I'm like, cool. So the next part is you extrude it out and you create a leg. So we're going to create a leg. So let's say, I don't have to tell it it's great, but I say, great. Next run create skinned leg. So it's basically going to create one leg of the spider bot and that's it. So create skin leg and nothing else as a precaution. So it's going to do that. It's going to create one leg of the spider bot. So I had to do this systematically because what would happen if I told it to create, if I gave it very, very specific instructions. And in fact, if you go to the tutorial that tells you how to make a spider bot, you could copy the transcript and just throw it in there saying, here's a full transcript of all the instructions all at once. Go ahead and build it. And it breaks it. It breaks because it's just too much information. If there's one little thing that it goes in the wrong direction, it will continue in that wrong direction. So now it created skin leg. So what is a skin leg? Well, a skin leg is that. It's just a leg. So it creates the leg. So let's kind of go up further. So let's say skin leg. Let's do the full assembly now. So now this is the full assembly. So once I had the legs built and the legs were looking good, actually, let's see. Yeah, we can do create spider full assembly. So let's do what the full assembly is. Run, nothing else. I don't know if I have to put the nothing else in there, but and what it's doing too, it's deleting everything that was there before and then creating this. And that was the problem with my one big world environment. It deleted the whole thing and created this on top of it. So let's see what is it doing. All right, cool. So it did exactly what I wanted to do. So this is the initial part of the spider assembly. So now I have here, I have a little controller so it can move the leg. It put the bones inside the leg, but it had to be very systematic about it, like very specific. And then I have the body, and if I move the body, then the leg moves with the body. So if you remember from the ChatGPT script, the whole head popped off. Here, everything is nicely connected. So I'm aware of the process now. I went through the tutorial script several times too, just to make sure everything's connected right. So it's a very kind of systematic modular approach to building something in 3D. So let's see, let's get to a point where you can kind of see the final kind of uh, so I think I created duplicate legs. Let's see, to duplicate the legs. Well, I'll just go ahead. So let's assume that because of this approach, carefully, bit by bit, you're building something. So let's just run swarm. So the whole idea was to build a whole army and let them loose. So hundreds of spider bots. This is kind of like phase one, and eventually create these 3D worlds where you're letting the spider bots go on their own and gather data as they travel. So I wanted to create a swarm. So that's what I did. So I'll run the next script. So let's see. So run, this one takes a couple minutes to get going because there's so many little spider bots going around here. And you'll see the final result, but it took me, I mean, it kind of took like a full day of kind of figuring this out to get it to work properly. But once I got it to work, it was pretty foolproof. And it was actually a combination of using the different platforms. So I would go into Antigravity, Gemini 3, it would give me an error. I would pop that into ChatGPT or Claude, and then they would kind of give me some errors going back and forth. And so now it's sending the swarm to the bridge and give it a couple seconds here. Now it's kind of thinking in the background because it is a lot. So let's see. There we go. We have a swarm of spiders. So hundreds of spiders all functioning properly, but very done in a very, very deliberate way, right? So this is phase one. So phase two is to actually build out the environment. So we want to give these spiders a place to go. And so that's where this whole idea with this auto generation of world geometry is occurring. And I like to make it look pretty. So I always like to go in here and give it a nice background color and randomize textures, give it like a little shader. You kind of see it like full view and kind of, so there they are. So yeah, it's basically randomizing it and it's pushing those boxes that are the main body control, just randomly kind of shifting the direction. Now, the other part of this would create object detection. So put like something in the scene, like pillars, or maybe have some sort of like predatory animal in there or something else. So there's a co-relationship between the bots and some other thing. So that was kind of trial and error. But now I have a full script called Swarm, and I can just play this script anytime. So what are some things you could possibly do with this though? Now that we have like swarming spiders, what else could you possibly do with this if you wanted to do something else with it? I have some ideas where to take it next, but I just want to get your ideas. What over there?
You could like make simulation, like
Yeah, like maybe have stuff falling and shooting at the spiders and yeah, that's kind of the idea with this world model, trying to create some sort of action that occurs where the agent reacts and then you're collecting data. You can almost think of it as like if you're doing a world model for like Waymo, and Waymos can drive gathering data with like LiDAR and 3D scanning and maybe geolocation. But what happens when there's like a riot in the middle of the street? Or recently there was a police like barricade. The Waymo didn't understand that. There was a surprise to its function and it drove right through. And the police officers were like, stop. It's like, what are you doing? Waymo didn't know because it wasn't used to that type of environmental change. So creating a broader simulation would be like very, very like meaningful for something like this. Something else you could possibly do with this? Answer question.
If they can answer your question, what else you can do? Like what you can do is just have like a huge simulation of like a bunch of things and have like teams and like armies of sorts.
That'd be cool. So have two different groups of spider bots kind of combating. Yeah, so an idea behind that is how do you start to randomize it so you just don't have spider bots? What if they have different bodies or different teams or different colors and you give them different attributes, right? And then you're creating some sort of game from this and it's not just them moving by itself. So that's a great idea. So it's another type of simulation. So those are all like perfect examples of how you could build this out for some sort of world model type training. And so those are good examples too, because I think one of the challenges is going to be figuring out the different scenarios that you can create. And you need to have different scenarios. And that's where you probably need somebody who thinks more creatively than always logically in these types of situations. So yeah, that's great. What I've been working on next is basically to create switches. So to randomize like the body types, to have a sphere instead of a cube, and then to actually now create my own 3D models, put the 3D model in, and then have it be more of a different type of creature rather than just a spider bot. So that's the next step. So that was mainly using this bridge tool. One of the things I do want to convey is the importance of having additional tools in the process. If I were to just do this through ChatGPT and the copying and pasting into the Blender script environment, it would just be very cumbersome, right? But now that I use this bridge script, and you could create the bridge script for ChatGPT. I mean, it doesn't matter. It could be for Claude. You have other tools. You have like Windsurf. So I mean, it's irrelevant, really. But that was something that I didn't think about at first. That was introduced to me through Gemini. That was very, very helpful. There's other scripts in here where I'm building cities, doing other things, just scripting out. The idea is to start to code your game versus building it out piece by piece in Blender. But it's still fun to build it in Blender the traditional way.